Hi, everyone, and welcome back to week five. It's a pleasure to be back with you to wrap up the week and to talk about a few things. Hopefully, leave you with a few things to think about as you wind into the weekend. So, first and foremost, this week I wanted to talk a little bit about growth mindset. Many of us, I think, at the very beginning, were very quick to raise our hands and say we want to be successful. I don't think there's really anyone out there that doesn't want to feel that basic feeling of success and to understand that things are, moving in the right direction. There's something about when things click and that things are chiming along and you feel very good about the efforts that you've been making. So I think equally so, many of us don't want to be in, we want to be in a growth mindset, looking at the fact that experiences and the application of skills, even though those skills perhaps are things that we're lacking, whether it be, in areas of how we learn, that we're motivated by the fact that with practice and with continued experience and exposure to these things, we will, cultivate a better better opportunities for ourselves, but also obviously to improve ourselves in that particular area. Just in terms of this slide, I wanted people to kind of look at the two different belief statements and figure out where you sit personally. I also think that these are some key things that we can do for ourselves, just in terms of our own learning and understanding how we learn, and the application of that is to do things like reaching out for feedback and asking people to provide that support to us. Also being in the moment and understanding and observing the efforts that we've made personally towards that level of success, and understanding the positive habits that are needed towards success. We've worked on many of those so far, whether it be time management or eliminating procrastination or seeking outside supports. All of this stuff, all of these things are good habits to allow ourselves to unlock. I think that key to our learning, and that is understanding what is needed in our own lives to be successful. And then, of course, being positive and collaborating with others. I think those are things as well that are key. So I've also included a couple of assessment tools for you. These are things that I've done in the past. These are links to websites, but things that I've done in the past. They're very simple questionnaires that asks us to, some very simple questions, but yet for some, it does unlock an understanding of how best we learn. And it also helps us to kind of tailor perhaps the kinds of courses that we take, and our interactions with others, whether it be our professor or classmates that we interact with on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. These are good assessment tools. Just encourage you to kind of review them and maybe look at one or two of them and go from there. I also wanted to include some information here on the 2022 Skills Outlook. This is coming from the World Economic Forum. And if you can tell, I mean, there are skills that employers and industry are looking for as compared to skills that are in a decline. And some of the, I think it's important to note that some of the skills that are obviously in more demand today are skills that I think first and foremost that we probably don't spend enough time on in public education, and yet these are becoming more and more influential in terms of our competitiveness in the labor market, and equally so, there are things that are on the decline that are less important and that are certainly. They seem to be a focus of education. And I think it's important to note that sometimes education takes a while to catch up to the economy in terms of what skills are most important or most influential out there. But there are some things on that list that really engage with sort of what we're talking about here today, and that is the idea of active learning. And being present and in the moment and understanding why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing, but also understanding how we learn in terms of the learning strategies, things like creativity, use of technology, critical thinking. These are all problem solving. These are all things that have a great deal to do with how we learn and how we approach learning ourselves. So I wanted to review a little bit from the article that Karen posted, the academic gains through improved learning effectiveness. And there were 5 key areas that I just wanted to take a few moments and speak about. First thing is motivation. Understanding who motivates us or what motivates us to be here, to be doing what we're doing, is key to keeping our attention, our eye on the prize, if you will. So there's lots of things we could talk about under that, but one of the chief things is sometimes we do find ourselves lost and we don't have those strong motivators in our lives. And albeit, like, it could be a person or it could be something that kind of keeps us on track. It's really important that when we're feeling unmotivated to do the work, that we need to take stock of our lives and figure out how do we surround ourselves with people or things that will motivate us. One of the chief motivators, I think, for people in university is the fact that I'm paying for this, or perhaps it is my parents that are paying for it. And so it plays an important role in sort of determining how successful we want to be. So hopefully that's a bit of a motivator, but oftentimes we need more than that. So it's important to seek out those positive relationships in our lives. It's also important to become more present with our learning. And so some of the chief things to do there could be where you sit in the classroom. Whether it's at the front of the room or the back of the room, I often will tell students, you've got to do what makes sense for you. Being front and center is, for some, is not the key, or it's not the thing that will unlock a class or make it more important for you or significant. You've got to be able to be present, and it's more than just where you sit. It's about asking questions and becoming engaged, and it's about active learning, really, at its core. The third thing that they talked about was challenging the boredom response. And I thought this was interesting because I fall into this category too. When I become bored, I have several activities that I'll go to, and I will pull my phone out, or I'll watch a television show, or I will go on the internet. How many of you have ever gotten lost in YouTube videos? And certainly it's not mine. But the boredom response is just a human nature sort of thing. And so the challenge is what can I do in place of that to continue to keep my eye on the prize, to keep attention on the things that are most important. And one of those things should be your learning, your classes, and the kinds of things that you're doing around classes, activities and tests, and preparation for all of that. Obviously, engaging with the material, it makes it easier when you really care about why you're there and you enjoy what you're doing. And that's part of the finding yourself in university, is you try some things and they don't work, and you move on and you try some other courses and maybe they don't work, but you don't give up and you move on and you try to find material that you can really engage with. And it's material that you feel passionate about. I can tell you, when I started, I was taking economics and math and other business courses, and I really wasn't doing so well. And I got into political science, and all of a sudden I went from making 50s and 60s to 80s and 90s. And it wasn't because I was concentrating more on the material, it was because I engaged more with the material. It was something of interest to me. And then finally recognizing that there is a point where you have to build balance into your life, and enough, your attention span can only take so much. And so you do need to block things out and create moments where you can break away from learning and maybe learn in a different way, or break away from learning altogether and do something mindless, so that your mind can replenish and to be ready for the next task that comes your way. So some things to think about. This is a challenge for you. Throughout the next week or so, a journal or write down some quick thoughts. Capture those quick thoughts, just in terms of how you learn in a classroom. So take stock of what you're doing in terms of your classes, how you are engaging with the professor and other people in the room, how you're taking the information in, and equally so how it's being delivered to you. Just take stock of that, and it's really not for anyone else. It's just for your own personal reflection. Um, don't forget about the things that we've talked about, because they all help. I think this is sort of like a web that we're weaving throughout the 10 or 12 weeks that we're together. Things like creating a schedule and developing good habits around saying no to things and avoiding procrastination, and not being afraid to raise your hand and say I need help. These are all things that tie together with understanding and unlocking how you learn, or how best you learn. And then finally, personal reflection is key. So even though I'm kind of challenging you to do a journal or a quick thought capture this week, it's okay to just to think in your own head, and to think about, how are things going for me? And is it because, I'm doing something, or I've developed a habit that is getting in the way of learning in that particular class? Or is it the way that the professor is presenting the material? And some of that is quite different now that we've gone online, and a lot of it is asynchronous. And so this kind of this approach to learning is perhaps not conducive to a lot of people and how best they learn. However, I think there are opportunities to sort of build in that personal reflection with respect to kind of the climate that we're in right now. So that's it for the week. I wish you the best of luck. Hope that this week has been beneficial to you, to unlocking how best you learn. And until next time, take care.